everybody. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm really excited that we're doing this. I don't normally do webinars in what I call the off cycle, where it's really the slower time in between July bar exams and February bar exams. So I'm really excited to be doing this. I actually love doing these. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm Maureen. I am the founder and creator of BarMD. We're a full service bar prep company. We have everything that you need for the bar exam for California and for the UBE. So we have books, and I have some new stuff coming out as well. How many of you here are taking the UBE, or is everybody here taking California? Let me know the jurisdiction in the chat, because I'm just curious for everybody what people are taking. I know we get a lot of California. Oh, UBE, Babita, let me know which one you're taking. Oh, nice, Texas. Yeah, doing a bit of Texas. I work with a lot of Texas takers. So we have everything. If you're taking UBE, I have two, technically have 3 new books that are going to be coming out. So one for the MEE, one for the MPT that is just about finished. And the MEE one is just about finished as well. And then we also have an MBE book that's going to be coming out. How many of you guys have taken the exam before and you're retaking it? There's several of you I know that it's your first time. Yeah, a lot. And I primarily work with repeaters. That's primarily who we work with here. Yeah, I primarily work with people that are repeating, and it's really I love that. I also, because I've worked with so many people, thousands at this point, that I know sort of the devastation involved. And also I love diagnosing and figuring out where people need to improve. What do you need to do to pass? So that's something that I absolutely love to do. So yeah, any questions, anything, like I said, if you want to have a chat with me, you can use this link. You can schedule a chat. We can talk about bar prep for you. What do you need to do? What should you be doing to tailor it towards you? All that being said, let's talk about early start bar prep. That's what we're here for. So tonight we're going to talk about what should you be doing to prep for the exam starting early. It can be a little tough. Most bar prep programs don't officially start usually for the February bar until sometime in December. Occasionally they'll start in November. So that's really when things sort of start. But usually companies will have stuff where you can start early, but it's not super guided. So I want to just give you all some structure and some ideas, and also the opportunity to chat if you want to talk about stuff more individualized for you as well. So what should you be doing to prep for the upcoming February 2024 bar? Understand what a schedule should look like for you, and then also want to provide some resources that will help, that should help you. Yeah, and especially if you're working full time, that really is the point. The reason I'm doing this now is because I know September 1 is tomorrow, and that's when a lot of people like to start studying. So if you're a full-time studier, then you need to really spread out your study time. So that we're going to talk about what a schedule might look like as well. So first, I want to talk about some things as you're starting on bar prep, as you're starting in really on bar prep. One thing that you should think about and that you should take care of early or schedule is all of your life needs. Get that stuff done now. I talked about this last night if you were here last night. But you definitely want to do anything that could, my dog is gonna come in and join us. There he is. Anything that might need doing. So going to the doctor, going to the dentist, taking your car to the shop, whatever you might need to do. If you're looking for a job, start, putting out those feelers. Or if you're working, if you are working, figuring out your schedule for when, really when the bar exam gets a little bit more intense, figuring out time off, all of that type of stuff. One thing just on that note, a ton of people come to me and ask me, what should they do? Where should they take their time off strategically? How to have that talk with your employer. The big thing that I recommend, because the bar exam, people always say it, but it's true, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And I've run a marathon before, and it takes a lot of training. So months of it, which is very much like preparing for the bar exam, which I wouldn't recommend training for a marathon while you're studying for the bar. But you really want to spread out the time. So if you are working, I generally tell people the very best thing you can do, instead of taking a ton of time off right before the exam, although that's great if you can do that, and hopefully you can, I personally think it's better, and often employers are happier, unless you have a government job or something with really strict hours, if you can shorten the amount of time that you're working per day. So maybe instead of going in from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or anything like that, you can be off at 2 or be off at 3. So something like that that's just going to give you hopefully some time to beat traffic if you're physically going into an office, and also just lets you go home, decompress a little bit, and then put in a solid 2, 3, 4 hours. So definitely think about that. Taking time off, it is really helpful if you can take some time off before work. But I also say, if you can't do part hours, then take off 1 or 2 days a week instead and spread that out. But if you can't do that, if you don't have an option to do that, that's totally okay. you can do a couple of hours every day and then some longer days on the weekend, but you still need to take some time off. So for example, like if you can't do that, then what I would suggest is take one evening off a week from studying. So I generally say Fridays because you're exhausted from working all day, studying in the evening. So you need one evening where you can actually just let your brain sort of decompress. So usually I would recommend that that be Friday, depending on the person. Okay. But also, you know, you should still right now, like see your friends, see family, like do all of that stuff that you can. Enjoy life a little bit still. Like you definitely want to do that because it is a marathon. You will burn out. So we don't want you to burn out. We want you to succeed, and burnout is real. It's very real. So make sure that you are you know, thinking about that. You're not just going full on because realistically, it's incredibly difficult to maintain a level of intensity that is needed for the bar exam as you get close to the exam. So generally, like January 1, February 1 is when people sort of get a bit more stressed in my experience, particularly February 1st, but also January 1st is when you may start to feel just the intensity increase a little bit. And I don't want you hitting burnout at that point. So make sure that you are really spreading things out evenly. So plan that, think about that stuff. So make sure that you are definitely still taking time for yourself in this time. So let's talk about a study schedule. This is generally what I recommend right now. So like starting tomorrow, right? Or starting, we're actually going to have like a little mini course that's going to help to keep everybody on a schedule that's going to start, but a study schedule. So you're going to do basically, you're going to really focus on one subject a week for 7 weeks. But after you finish a subject, you're still going to return to that subject every time. Because one thing I don't, how many of you guys listen to my podcast or do you guys know about it? Yeah, I actually talked about this. I talked about forgetting and I talked about how to do a schedule. And I'm actually going to post a sample schedule. We're going to have a free download. We're going to send links to it as well. But once you finish a subject, and I did a whole thing on this about how we forget, and I will definitely share a link to it. It's a thing called the forgetting curve. It was discovered or written about by Hermann Ebbinghaus, like in the early 1900s or late 1800s. And it talks about how like basically our memory leaks over time. So you learn something and then, you know, within a few days, like 80% of what you learned is gone. So you have to come back to information. You have to come back to the material frequently. This is particularly important for the bar exam because you have to know so much information and you're learning a lot. You're learning a lot. So in the podcast this week, that's why I did it. Yeah, you forget a lot of this information over time. So it's really important that you continue to return back to it. So it's hugely important. So in the next week or so, we're changing our website and we're going to have a whole thing of free downloads of things like samples that you can download of my books. And yeah, so like of my books, of my quick sheets, I'm going to have a sample, like if you want a sample study schedule, what that might look like. We're going to have all of that type of stuff available for you guys for free downloads on my website too. So just be on the lookout for that. I will get that link and we will post that a little bit later. So you want to make sure that you focus on a subject. You're going to really distill down on that subject. And you know, if you guys have a bar prep company that you're already using, great. You know, a lot of people do Barbary or Themis. That's great if they have those lectures. I'm not a huge fan of doing the lectures, but I do also see the benefit, particularly for LLM students. So if you're an LLM and you have some gaps, like there were some courses that you didn't take, some substantive law classes, I do think that those lectures can be really helpful. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Here's the podcast link. I also we have our book. My book has templates for basically every single topic for the bar exam and how to write it and how to write the analysis, which is what's really, really unique. That would be a really great resource for you as well for studying and reviewing the black letter law. But also in this time, so when you're doing the one subject a week for 7 weeks, right? And it's 7 weeks because there's 7 subjects. You could really make this 8 weeks to count criminal law and criminal procedure as 2 different subjects. So you can definitely do that. Collude, the UBE one is coming out. It'll be out by the end of October, beginning of November. Just finishing it up right now. But it really means that you have to understand the law. The biggest mistake that people make is that they don't test themselves even this early on. So it might just be really tiny little bits, right? It might be that you are, okay, let's say tomorrow you are going to do something like You're going to create your attack outline, and I'll talk about what it is. Yeah, it is 7 subjects, or it is 16. I really say it's 12 subjects, if you, in the least complex way. But we're going to do 1 subject a week for 7 weeks. We're just going to focus on the MBE subjects. Like that's what you should be focusing on, because that is what the majority of the exam is going to test. So that's why it's like this, and then in this period after the 7 weeks or 8 weeks, then you're probably going to get into like the regular start of whatever bar prep program you have signed up for. However, we have a bar prep program that actually starts with our daily schedule. We have a new one that starts every month. So if you want to do, if you don't have that, if you've not signed up for that yet, ours, and it starts at $9.99. I'll talk about it at the end. But we have a schedule to start September 1st, October 1st, November 1st, December, etc. So you can study for 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, with everything spread out for you for the entire time. You shouldn't really be doing more than 4 to 5 hours a day, with one caveat. Is if you're an LLM student, like I know numerous of you here are, you might need a little bit more than that. So, but still with all the, the caution, right? I understand if you're working that you might not be able to do more than that. But also, I just want to say, for those of you, maybe if you're retaking the exam, you studied before, 2 hours a day is actually really good still. You just have to realistically look at, and you have to assess. And that's why I posted the link if you want to make an appointment to meet with me, so we can talk about, well, what do you need, right? We can talk about what exactly you need. So, and I'll post that link again right now. But yeah, the reason I only have 1 subject a week for 7 weeks is because this is really saying, okay, this is early start. What should you be focused on? And you want to focus on the MBE subjects. You're going to get to the like essay only subjects a little bit later on. And that's obviously all accounted for. But right now, what you should be focused on is really the MBE subject, because I want you to do MBE problems and I want you to write essays and also do some PT work. So you really shouldn't be, unless, like I said, you're an LLM student, or you're a foreign lawyer and you're taking California, then you might need to do a little bit more, because you have some real substantive law to learn. And all of us, like there will still be some things, even though I've written material for every single subject, there's still some things that I'm weaker on, like rule against perpetuities, right? I would need to spend a little bit more time to learn that, because that's something, actually, I really don't think you need UBE takers do need to know it, but California, you really don't. So yeah, so identify where your weaknesses in the black letter law are. And you should be studying 5 to 6 days a week with the 4 to 5 hours. Like, don't do more than that generally, but even if you can put in 2 hours a day, just don't set really unrealistic expectations for yourself, right? Like, figure out what is feasible. Remember that you have to carry this on, for an extended period of time. And this is early start, right? Most people, if you've done a JD program in the US, for most people, it's, 10 to 12 weeks of studying. So we're getting a head start on that. We're getting a jump on that, which is great. Any questions on that? We're going to talk about, somebody said, just to clarify, by testing yourself 1 subject a week, are you saying just go over the substantive law? What I mean is you're going to focus and make sure that you understand very deeply each subject for 1 week. So like, let's say that tomorrow, and I have a sample of this on the next slide. Let's say for this week, you're doing civil procedure. Then each day you're going to dedicate to really doing a deep dive into whatever topics it is for civil procedure. So PJ, SMJ, venue, discovery, all of the various issues that come up in civil procedure. So you're going to dedicate a bit of time each day to do a deep dive. And then after that, the weeks that follow, you're then going to do some practice, right? You're going to practice civil procedure. And while you're learning, so let's say next week you're learning torts, right? So next week you're doing torts and you're doing negligence, but you're also going to go back, because we forget so much. So, after a period of time, we want to make sure that you don't lose all that information. Sorry if I get stuck for a second, because there's so many questions coming in. So you want to come back to it. So you're going to test yourself. So you do the deep dive. You're going to do some, you can do a little bit of passive review, but the biggest mistake people make is not studying, not doing practice tests. So you have to do them. And it's low stakes testing, right? There's like, these aren't being graded. I know it can be scary, but do them still. Closed note. You don't necessarily have to do it timed, but at least start out doing a closed note. And I am happy to do another workshop on like approaching essays, right? If you guys are interested in that, let me know in the chat. because I'm happy to do something like that. What does it look like to practice an essay? I've done these types of workshops in the past, but I'm happy to do another one because I see a lot of new names in here, people that I haven't seen before, which is super exciting. But yeah, we can talk about that as for California and for the UBE. And yes, if you have purchased my books in the past, you do still have access to them. We've been doing some tech changes. So if you don't see them right now, let me know and we'll get you access to it. It might take me a couple of days at the moment because most of my team is on vacation. And yeah, my prep course is equivalent to CMS or Barbary. We offer a lot more customization, and the thing that I will say is our tutoring, our feedback that you get if you do grading, etc., is much more in depth. It's much more personalized and in depth. We go far, far deeper when we are grading and doing all of that. Sophia, the reason bar takers don't need to know rule against perpetuities is for California, it doesn't come up on the essays, and for everybody for the MBE, it really doesn't. Thanks, Sheree. It really doesn't. It is almost always a distractor answer and not actually the correct answer. So I could go in depth into that. I will talk about that in this class I'm going to do. But yeah, so you just don't really need to know that. There's a couple more questions I want to answer. For the anonymous attendee, if you just make an appointment with me, we can chat about what you should do. But that's, doing 2 hours is sufficient. I will say that. Let's talk about what a schedule might actually look like. So it might be something like this. So this is, I know, fairly detailed. So this looks maybe a little bit intimidating. This looks a bit intimidating perhaps, but there are some tools that can really, really help you with this. My essay book, for anybody that doesn't, I can show it to you guys. I'm actually working on some updates to it at the moment that will be, if you bought it previously, you'll get the updated version as well. But you might do this. So I like to be very specific and not just say outline civil procedure. And what I mean is I want you to create attack outlines. So when I say to outline, what you are going to do is you're going to create, okay, if you had an essay testing you on personal jurisdiction, what would the skeleton of that essay look like? What would your headings be, subheadings, and what would your rules look like? It's going to be very, very easy and simple. So like I can show you guys, I'll put one together for you all right now. So like this is my essay book. So for example, this is my essay book. Which is like literally templates for analysis and how to write. Does anybody here have it? And did you use it? Can you tell us what you thought when you used it in the chat? But so what you might do for an attack outline, you say you're doing personal jurisdiction, right? You want to know, okay, well, what are my rules? What are my headings? What sub rules do I need? So here's personal jurisdiction. This is my rule. You also might take this, right? Your outline might do something like this. Like I might say, okay, court must have personal jurisdiction over the defendant. The court may have personal jurisdiction via traditional basis or a long arm statute. So I always want you to focus on, and I'm going to get into some nitty gritty. Some of these words might not make sense to you, but if you do any of my classes or my workshops or videos or courses, all of these terms would become very familiar to you. But what you're going to do, oh, my dog just got on alert. What you're going to do is you're going to focus on what are the buzzwords for the rule? What are really the elements or the factors or the alternatives for the rules? And Harun, what do you think? So what you might want to do is say, okay, I'm going to have a heading for PJ. Let's say I know my rule for PJ. Traditional basis, right? There's 3 ways to have it. And so I might do something like this. Domiciled, properly served with process in the forum state, and consent, all right? And then, yeah, spoon feeds you the information. Then, okay, your next issue that you're going to talk about, long arm statute. So in here, what my book does, and I'm not just doing this just to plug my book, but it was just easy and I have it open because I'm working on it, is I literally tell you this, I give you sentences and you just pick between like is or is not, and you just fill in the facts that are relevant to this. So I literally write the analysis for you. You just have to fill in the blanks and like pick the alternative between is or is not for it. So it's really for like every issue that really comes up on the Cal Bar. So, but what you're doing for the attack outline is you're saying, okay, what are all the things that I need to address, right? So if you're doing personal jurisdiction, you're just going to take, I'll open a new piece of paper. Veronica, I'm just finalizing things with the printer right now. We are getting it in a hard copy. So we have it. So if you get the digital, we will have an option to tack on just for the cost of the printing, basically, to get the hard copy too. We're just ironing out those details. So you might create an attack outline. It's just going to look like this. So personal jurisdiction, right, which is an issue in civil procedure. Somebody I saw on Reddit said that if they had to describe all of their classes as various spices, somebody that's a 1L right now, they had to describe their classes as spices, civil procedure would be flour, which I thought was pretty on point. It's like the most boring class. So traditional basis, consent or service, and then long arm statute, constitutional limitations. And what you do is you put in all of your headings. This is my attack outline. So it's basically a skeletal outline for if I had to write this essay, what would all my headings and the buzzwords from my rules be? So constitutional limitations, so minimum contacts, which requires purposeful availment, minimum contacts, relatedness, and fairness. And under each of these, you put in the buzzwords from the rule. Does that sort of make sense? So you're going to read your material, make sure that you understand it. You want to read it, make sure that you understand it, and then you want to make a little like, okay, if I were to get this on an essay, what would my headings be? What would my buzzwords be? And the reason you do this, you don't want with memorization, I don't want you ever memorizing in full sentences. I want you to memorize just what are the components of the rule that you need. Because anytime if you have just the buzzwords, you should be able to take that and form a rule sentence, which all of the stuff I go into in all the classes that I teach. Yeah, anonymous attendee, somebody asked if they can use the California book to prepare for the UBE, and it will be ready at the very end. It really should be out by like November 1st. But yeah, you can absolutely use California between them, but there will be a UBE and MEE specific one coming out. I am like deep in the throes of finishing that up. So, under long arm statute, so there must be a long arm statute that authorizes the court. So must be a long arm statute. And then minimum contacts. There's really the two real buzzwords are purposeful availment and foreseeability. So purposeful availment, the buzzwords for that, purposeful contacts. I'm going to highlight them here. So if you have like a book, you want to know what are the buzzwords? Purposeful availment of conducting activities in the forum state, purposeful availment of conducting activities in the forum state. I don't know what that did. And then foreseeable, right? This is foreseeable that they could be hailed into court in the forum state. And I obviously, I could do this in my sleep for this particular topic. Okay, and then relatedness, like here. Specific or general jurisdiction, like that to me triggers, I know exactly what that means. And then fairness, I would just put in my fairness factors. So does that make sense of what I would expect you to do in that time? Zaruto, we don't have any, but make sure you, we'll send out an email to everybody after just with links to everything too, but it'll go out, I think, on Tuesday. So you would want to do something like this. Yeah, I do. I have these for all topics. So somebody asked, do I have these templates? This book literally has, I'll show you the table of contents. First, the book has all sorts of stuff, but yeah, I have everything. Yeah, you can do it for community property. I also, in the book, I talk about frequently tested issues, and I give you templates for everything. So like general presumption, marital economic, that one always does that. That's so weird. To fix that link. So like prenups. Yeah, everything in community property for some reason goes back to the very beginning. I'm fixing that link. But yeah, here's corporations, agencies, partnership. Let me see. If you see highlights, it's because I'm editing. There's form there. We also have like California distinctions for those of you taking California. Oh yeah, here's like somebody asked me specifically community property. Yeah, we have all of it for community property. We also have in the book, this is like the most important thing to me, is the footnotes. So like I have been tutoring for this exam and I have done so many workshops. I've written books and all sorts of stuff for every single one of these subjects. So we have footnotes, and this has also been gone over and edited by multiple other people that have done what I do for a very long time, and they've put tips in here. So this is like taking, I don't know how many years of experience, and it has just so much experience built in. So these footnotes are really helpful and also gives you all sorts of tips. The other thing that's really helpful is, where can I find an example like this? How many of you guys have time management issues? How many, but like you have, yeah. So it's a really difficult thing for pretty much everybody. That's really the challenge of this test. And people always ask me, like, what do I need to write? What don't I need to write? So I have grayed out the rules that you can omit. So like, you don't need to include this, or I tell you, you only need this rule if this happens. So I'm really trying to distill it down to what do you need to have? So, and there's all sorts of strategy, etc. Somebody also asked me about my essays class. If you want to sign up for the live one, you don't have to wait till December. You can sign up now. You get access to the recordings from the previous from the July course, and then and which we're also updating right now too, but you can still access it while we're updating it. And then you get to join the live classes when they start in December. So you can absolutely do any of that stuff early. But yeah, so going back to back on topic. And yeah, and if you want even the recordings version of the courses, you can just do the recordings and you'll get as we do new ones, you'll get those as well. And for people that want the book, yeah, anything that's a California distinction or California specific is called out. So you don't have to worry about getting confused. And then you can switch it to the UBE when that comes out. We can just switch your access. So yeah, but this is really like an attack outline is something that is very straightforward, very simple. And it would be different. Like you should take, you can use my rules if you have my book. You should use them, and you should just be able to take it and really distill it down very simply. But you want to make it something that's really easy to memorize, and it's not easy to memorize full sentences. It's incredibly difficult. So just really focus on memorizing the buzzwords too. I obviously didn't fill this out entirely. So like, let's say on Monday, right? And this is how I do, if you're in my like full courses, I say review, create, attack, outline. So like what I just showed you. It's just, you're going to do a few things. So PJ, SMJ, venue, and then also maybe discovery, right? Discovery. How do you approach that? And like that in my book is very different from a lot of times when I say to outline discovery, people are memorizing all the different forms and how many can you do and all sorts of crazy nitty gritty, which I get. And you want to know that, but that's not usually what's tested on the bar. What's tested is the scope of discovery and like along with the motion to compel. And is this information discoverable, period? Is it actually discoverable information, or is it, and usually it's going to be something where somebody wants to make an attorney work product claim. So that's usually what actually comes up within discovery. So just sort of throw a little tidbit in there. So you're going to start, you're just going to do a few things. And then Tuesday, you're going to create some attack outlines, but you're also going to do a little bit of what you reviewed on Monday, right? You're going to review those attack outlines, right? Because we leak our memory, that stuff leaks out. And the more you review it, and it's actually at very particular intervals. Like when I make schedules for my full courses, we always do it according to the optimal schedule, which is reviewing it if you finish the day that you finish your review. So like, let's say you do this and on day 5, you finish Civ Pro, then that's actually day 0. Then you review day 1, day 3, day 7 or 6, and day 10. And then every 30 days thereafter, and you will retain what you have learned over a period of time. So you want to review. So I just give you a little bit. So you break up Civ Pro, break up every subject, con law, right? Break up everything into just smaller bite-sized pieces, and don't just say like a third of Civ Pro, because that gets really overwhelming, right? Or even just 1/5 of Civ Pro. You want to know, and like I know, what are all of the topics that really come up in essays where you need to make an attack outline. And then you're also going to do, some MBEs, generally speaking. And I have actually like a little preview course. It's like a mini bar review course. It's actually designed to do all of this with you guys for 8 weeks. That's going to start, which I'll talk about. But you're going to do a little bit of MBE as well, maybe like 5 MBEs a day. That's it, because you're going to go deep into them after this week. So then the next week, you would be doing a deeper dive into the next subject. So then maybe you do torts. And then you're doing a little bit of Civ Pro review as well. And you're going to do some Civ Pro MBEs and essays, etc. So there's a lot. I will give you links and everything to the course at the end. I give you a schedule. If you're in my whole, like my big course, which is called Core, then I break down like everything and tell you what to analyze. But here, I go in deeper in the book. So that way, like if you are doing a practice essay and you're like, because, if something comes up, then if you're doing a practice essay, and you don't know how to analyze something, I want you to be able to look it up. So we're doing a class though called Early Intervention, which is the name of the course. So I'll talk about that and I'll give you the link at the end. But I just wanted to show you what a study schedule might look like. So really break it down into small bite-sized chunks is really the point. And that makes it a lot more manageable rather than just saying like all of Civ Pro. So focus on the MBE subjects to start. You really just need to do that for the next 7-8 weeks until whatever your bar prep course is, till that starts, really until the beginning of November, beginning to middle of November is ideal, because these are tested both on the essays and on the MBEs, and you will get, obviously it's what the entire MBE is, but you will get essays that test you on the MBE subjects. There's traditionally 2 to 5 essays to test on MBE subjects on any given bar exam. So you will absolutely see some of these. You really want to like hammer these the hardest. Also, So get used to the MBE questions. So remember, MBE questions are a really deep dive into the Black letter law. So what I'm going to teach in this early intervention course that we have is I'm going to teach you all MBE journaling, which is a way to do a very deep dive into every single MBE question that you do. So it's a slow process. It's really great. I think, Sahar, you've done it, right? I think you do it. And it's incredibly, incredibly helpful, but it's really just like mapping out every single MBE and looking at like really getting an understanding of where you're at with each question. So we'll all go into this later, but the MBE questions, it's a very much a deep dive. You cannot memorize all of the law for the MBE before you start doing them. So do the review like you would do for the essays. You would do that. You might read a little bit more as well, just doing some reading of Black letter law for Civ Pro for, using what materials you have. And then you need to just start doing problems. And the thing that you need to do is, the reason you need to do that is because with the MBE, it's a lot about tiny little changes in the law. It's about, you have to know that this is like one answer option might be an accurate statement of law, just doesn't apply to the factual scenario. So you are being tested on multiple points of law at the same time. And that's really how you learn how the law works. So you're just going to get a lot of stuff wrong, and it's totally okay. And that is the point. And I just want to say one thing. This is something I say to people all the time that I wish somebody had told me, is the entire point of prepping for the bar is to get stuff, is that the point isn't to get it wrong, but is to make all the mistakes now. Like, get those out of the way and learn from them. That is the point. The problem is it doesn't feel good. It feels terrible. So it's a really not fun process, but that's okay. That's completely okay. And remember, if you guys want to talk about your bar prep process, you can schedule a time to chat with me, and you can do that here. So you want to do a deep dive into the law. So you're going to do that when you do your attack outlines, which are definitely geared more towards the essays. 100%, I admit that. But you are going to get a really comfortable big overview, and like not even just an overview, but pretty comfortable with a lot of the very big issues within each subject. And then once you start doing your deep dive into the MBE questions, you're going to hit all those finer points of law, and you're going to see stuff you're like, I didn't know that, and that's the point, and that's totally okay and normal. So yeah, so really get used to your MBE questions. I'm going to do this course, and you're going to get, with it, you get 210 MBE questions, so 30 questions per subject too. And practice writing essays. It's practice of UPTs. So practice writing essays. I know I don't have anything on this slide actually, but you do have to practice writing. And you do, as soon as you finish doing your attack outlines and you've quizzed yourself a little bit, it's great if you can, grab an essay. Maybe you know what is that essay is testing. I do this a lot with people. Like if I'm tutoring, they'll just learn all of negligence. They'll learn all of negligence, and then I will give them an essay that tests just on negligence, right? And you can do that, and that is fantastic. It's a really good thing to do. The other thing you can do that is great when it's early on is you might have an essay. You're like, all right, I know this essay tests me on negligence, or maybe this essay tests me on PJ and SMJ. You know that that's what the essay is, but maybe you finish doing your review of PJ and SMJ today, and then you might read an essay and read the answer that tests on PJ and SMJ. So you read it, right? And then the next day, so you read it and you're like comfortable with it, like you get how everything works. Then the next day, you actually write the essay. So you don't look at the answer, you read the fact pattern, and then you practice doing it on your own. You see, and you test yourself, because it's a lot less scary, right? How many of you guys are a little bit scared to write essays? Or were you scared in law school to do practice essays? Or are you scared now? Or were you when you took the bar before? I think most people are. It is the biggest thing, the biggest issue that I see. Yeah, is people are nervous, and I get it. I totally get it. But it's a lot now for those of you that are nervous, or anybody. Oh yeah, that's so interesting. And I would love to talk more about that. And really that's just what that means, is that you just see counter arguments, and then you got to know what to do with that. But that's actually like one of my favorite issues that people have. But yeah, Sahar, I get that. You've been studying for a long time though. Yeah, argument, counter argument. Yeah. But all that means is that you should write one of each. Do the argument, do the counter argument, your outcome doesn't matter. That's actually that's great. But it's a huge time suck for a lot of people. So, but now, does it sound a lot easier to write an essay if you're like, all right, it's early, let me read this fact pattern, read the answer so you know what the issues are, And then the next day, while it's all still fresh, you're going to write your answer, right? It's a lot. Does that sound easier? And something that's going to like warm you up into writing? Because I have worked with so many people that have this sort of paralysis around writing. And like, if we do that, I could just, ease them into it, right? Does that sound easier? Would make it easier for you to write? Yeah. So it can make it so much easier for people. And like, I've had people that will not write an essay for me, or I see it, I know they've done an open note and they've done an open book because I get, a 14-page answer and I know they didn't write it in an hour. I'm not even saying that you have to do everything timed, but you just need to practice. You need to identify where your strengths are, identify what you don't know. Identify what you don't know. That's really the big thing. That's the whole point. Because once you identify those things, then guess what? The next day you have to review that black letter law, right? Or you have to like have an understanding about it. And we have, just so you all know too, I have a Reddit group, I have a Facebook group that will invite you all to join. And you guys, if you have like a misunderstanding about black letter law, you can post it in there and I moderate it and I answer the questions. So if you have a black letter law issue, it's good to be a part of that group. They're new, so it's not a bunch of people in there yet, but feel free to ask. And I do you have the anonymous posting as well. And then also practice a few PTs. Definitely watch my YouTube videos if you haven't watched them before and we'll send out an email for the Facebook and Reddit groups. We'll send that out with the email. We're going to get a super informative email next week with all this information. And practice some PTs, watch the YouTube videos, and then also we have our courses. So just as a heads up, I want to talk about weaknesses. The whole point of writing essays and doing PTs, etc. The whole point is for you to identify your weaknesses. So these are a lot of them because you want to identify those early, and then you want to figure out how to approach them. You want to figure out how to approach them. So if your weakness is not knowing the black letter law, you need to give yourself time to learn that. You might need to ask questions. You might need a tutor, or you might need to like partner with somebody that's also studying to help explain stuff. Issue spotting, if that's your issue, you want to know how to address that. And that's actually by doing more essays or doing MBEs that target those issues. So you want to really know how to attack that, know strategies. And actually on the next slide have strategies to address each of these. Time management, you want to identify where are you losing time. If it's with the PT, right? If it's in the PT, you constantly run out of time. One, watch my YouTube video, and two, practice a whole lot. So you want to identify where it is that you lose time. So do you get just stuck in the library? Do you get stuck in all of the facts? Then no matter what, you shouldn't be reading the facts of the cases in the library. You have to read the file, but you don't need to read the facts of the cases. So I go over a strategy about what to skip and what to read. So if you're scared to write, if you have a reading comprehension issue, if you constantly are, missing something, usually reading comp is with the MBE, not the essays, but there are specific things that you can do. Sometimes it's taking a piece of paper and moving it down the screen, even if it's on the computer. You can take a blank Word doc and you can move it down the screen if you're doing Adaptabar or something, or UWorld. You can move it down the screen and just keep your eyes focused on the line that you're reading. So that can help increase reading comprehension. Typing speed, you need to do some practice. So let's talk about these. So weaknesses. So if you know this about yourself, with black letter law, you need to do this. You need to quiz yourself. Obviously, that's a pretty obvious one. Lots of repetition to make sure that you don't forget, and interleave. This is on the podcast episode for the week too. I go into this. So interleave the subjects that you're studying. So interleave the subjects that you're studying. So don't just do civil procedure in the first week and not come back to it until 7 weeks later. You need to do some Civ Pro every week so you don't forget it all. So interleave, which we do when we create schedules. If you're issue spotting, then you're going to do more essays, more MBEs, but you also really want to focus in on the facts. There are, the same types of facts trigger the same issues. So like, for example, on the essays and on the MBE, oftentimes what will happen is there's assumption of risk. And the way that they test assumption of risk is by giving somebody a special job. So they're not going to just say that, oh, they signed an assumption of risk waiver, right? Sometimes they'll give you a waiver, but it's very rare. And usually it's a red herring. But instead they'll say, okay, like this person, maybe it's a nurse at a psychiatric hospital. Well, she knows the risk of working with psychiatric patients, right? That they can maybe become aggressive sometimes, right? So then she assumed the risk of one of them attacking her and can't sue for that, right? So, or they say you have a mine inspector, right? Like a coal mine inspector that inspects for safety, right? If he inspects for safety and then goes into a coal mine and something happens, he assumed the risk, right? So look at the facts. How do I didn't realize that that's how they tested it until I've dissected every single MBE every which way from Sunday. Like I know all of the MBEs and know like what they're testing with what facts, and you see the same stuff over and over. So really look at the facts. If you notice like, okay, I missed this issue, and this one thing that I do a lot with the MBEs, I do a ton of MBE tutoring, and it's really mostly the tutoring that I do now because it's so individualized. But I'll say like, okay, you keep missing questions that are testing you on, equal protection. Okay, let's look at the equal protection questions together. You see like this fact, this fact, this fact is similar in all three of these. So that's how you know that that's what they're testing, and you really get used to it. So you're looking, and then you want to do more practice on that. My MBE book coming out will do this. Time management, really tracking yourself, knowing all the steps for writing a PT, knowing the steps for writing essays, and seeing where you get lost. If you're scared to write, take an incremental approach. This is what I was talking about earlier, where you might read the fact pattern and read the answer one day, and then rewrite, and then write the essay the next day. And also you can do rewriting. If you like, I've done this with one student that I've been working with who's taking the baby bar in October. And so we've just done a lot of, okay, write an essay, then we're gonna, rewrite it till she really understands all the points of law. And then I'm gonna give her another essay that tests the same issues, but within a different set of facts. Right. And then she crushed it after that. So it's just really getting to know those intricacies through rewriting. Reading comp, these tend to vary, but you want to like learn the strategies now, identify, if, especially like I know so many people do MBEs and you read it and you're like, God, that's stupid. I know that rule of law. So why did you get it wrong? Or you probably got it wrong because of a reading comp issue. And that's, you want to identify that. So you want to know really how to correct that. And usually it's slowing down. You have to force yourself to slow down. And there's a bunch of different ways to do that. Probably do a podcast episode on that. It's a good idea. Typing speed, I hear this a lot. 20 minutes a day of typing games. And start that. The sooner you do that, the better. But usually typing speed is not an issue. Truly, usually it's because people say that they're a slow typer, but the typing, it's usually not that they're a slow typer. Like I'm really, really fast, but if you're average, like 35, 40 words a minute is average, that's absolutely sufficient. If you plan out, if you know the law, you know the issues, you know all the stuff you need to know for the exam, you will have enough time to write a comprehensive answer that's like 1,000, 1,200 words. Like that is completely sufficient. Usually it's people are stopping and pausing and thinking throughout, and that's where they lose time. So it's usually the typing speed usually is not an issue. Truly, but a lot of people think it is. All right, this is what I was talking about. And then I also have some free resources that I'll talk about in a minute too. But we have this that I'm really excited. I decided to do this just because there's so many people. I'm on Reddit all the time, and people are, worried and like don't know what to do right now with their starting for February. So I'm doing this course. It's pretty inexpensive, especially for bar prep, but we're having this early intervention course. Like Veronica, I know that you are in core, so I'm going to give you this too. So if you're doing our full bar prep course, I'll throw this in. But we have a class. It's going to be once a week on Sundays. I'm going to teach it live. I will teach it live. Here's the link for it. Let me just get this. Once a week, Sundays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. This is for UBE and California. So really any of you can take it. We're going to do, I'm not going to do like lectures on the black letter law, but I will give you some templates. So like some attack sheets with the law for certain topics. So we're going to review some frequently tested issues in the black letter law. So review all the MBE subjects a bit, practice some essay writing, some issue spotting skills. We're going to talk about PTs. It will come with 210 MBE questions, and I'm going to talk MBE strategy, and there will be like a loose schedule also to follow. And it's all of it for $99. So it's once a week. It's for the most part, it's on Sundays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern, but there is one where it's on a Monday evening. So in October. So there's that class. So just as a heads up, we have that. I'm super excited about it. Yeah, I think it'll be a really good class. We already got like a bunch of people signed up for it. So I'm really excited. And yeah, and I wanted to make it inexpensive because a lot of people are, waiting, like a lot of people are waiting for bar results. And it's actually going to be 8 weeks. It's 8 weeks for $100. So you might want to supplement it with like, especially if you know that you are taking February, you might want to supplement it with my essay book and my PT book. We'll send out links to those as well. So you're going to get a really detailed email next week, just as a heads up. But yeah, 8 weeks. The classes will be about 2 hours. So 1 to 2 hours. I'm going to say closer to 2 hours each week. So 10 to 12, 1 to 3. Yeah. And it will be recorded as well. It will all be recorded. It'll be posted within 24 hours. So you'll be able to definitely watch that even if you can't attend live. But I'm going to teach it live. But definitely, like, I always keep recording in mind and like making sure that people have access to that. Yeah, and we do post pretty quickly. It takes a little bit to process the videos. So that class is going to start. And then if you want to just do like full on, if you want like your daily study schedule, like very detailed with, like full bar prep, right? Outlines, essays, PTs, answers, videos of essays and PTs and how to do them, etc. So we have our core program. So this is really everything you need. It doesn't come with grading or tutoring, but you can add those things on. So we made it very, very, and you can see this at BarMD. I'll put the link. If you just go to barmd.com and select UBE or California, well, this is really for California core. This is like everything you need. And I wanted to make, like, my whole thing with bar prep is I want to make bar prep more affordable. So, which I still know it's $1,000, but most courses are 3,000, 4,000. And I used to do it just like that. But you can add ons if you want to do a little bit of one-on-one. Then I do a lot of the tutoring. So early intervention starts September 10th. It starts September 10th, and then it's 8 weeks in a row on the Sundays with the one Monday. And all of on the listing for early intervention, on the listing here, we do have the actual dates and the times all listed there. It's like October 15th or 16th. It's whatever that Monday is. I'm doing it that Monday evening instead of the Sunday because I'll be out of town. So this will be a really fun. It's designed, like, I try to keep it light, keep it moving, keep you guys all on task, and make bar prep not depressing because it kind of is sometimes. All right. And it's 8 different classes. The full course for part-time or full-time. So the full course is really like, we have a schedule that starts tomorrow. That's part-time study from now until the exam, basically. It will get more intense as you get closer, just because it requires like a review of all of the subjects. But we have a schedule that starts September 1st. We have another one that starts October 1st. So, and then another one November 1st. So really 6 month, 5 month, 4 month, 3 month, 2 month schedule options. So the longer the study schedule, then it's more designed for part-time people. So I really like to keep that in mind for those people that are working. And then early intervention is just for those people, if you want to do early and you have something that starts, when classes traditionally start, then great. But also just to like really get comfortable, really hone in on your study skills and like bar exam skills, which is a really big thing and people don't talk about it. The last class, Babita, we have, if you work full time, like if you do core, Jasmine, if you do core, then you get a daily study schedule. Like, what should you do for what should you do? So let me just check one thing. Early intervention is not on there yet. You have to have the link in order to sign up for the class. Yeah, so September 10th, 17th, 24th, October 1st and 8th, and then it's October 16th is at 6 p.m. and then the 22nd and the 29th of October. So basically it takes you through the end of October for the class. And then I also have our essay workshop course. We have our PT workshop course. Those live classes, if you're doing a live, those start in December. I think all the dates are on the website as well. Or if you're doing our core program, if you're doing core, so anybody that works full-time, you should schedule an appointment with me. You can schedule an appointment with me so that we can talk about like anybody, especially if you're working, like what should it look like for you? What's the best way to go for you? So like, I like to talk to each person really. It's just 20 minutes. I don't take a ton of your time, but so just as a heads up on that, it's helpful. So so schedule an appointment with me if you want to have a chat, or I can stay on a little bit after this. And then early intervention is it's not full bar prep, right? It's just like, we're going to do a little bit to work on each. We're not going to go super deep into every subject, but you should go a little bit deeper. It's just really like, we're going to cover basically frequently tested issues in the subjects. And I'm going to give you some stuff for 30 questions for MBE. Even if you have taken July, it's still good to do some MBE questions to keep that on point. And the classes are live, so you have a chance to ask questions, etc. And I teach them. I think I've seen every issue possible. I've worked with a ton of people that have taken the exam a lot. I had somebody that took it for 14 years. Not that anybody wants to be in that position, but I've seen it like when people have every MBE memorized, etc. Somebody asked me, how do you quiz yourself? And it's really what works for you. So I would do a variety of things. I would rewrite stuff. I would write out the rules over and over to see if I remembered it. Quizzing yourself is by doing practice essays. That's a huge way of quizzing yourself, doing actual MBEs, etc. You can do flashcards, you can, do things verbally, whatever works best for you. So the essay workshops, somebody asked me, can you tell us about the essay workshop? Are you asking about the essay workshop course? The essay workshop course, with that course, what I do is for every subject that is for the California or the UBE, and Tamara, yes, if you're taking the attorney exam, intervention is still really great because the MBEs, even like you don't need to do them. If you want, I can we can do it without the MBE. Just send me a message and we'll get that figured out. Alice, just set up an appointment. If you do core, we do give you outlines and all the information that you really need. So just as a heads up on that. But with the essay workshop course, I start off by giving you we do a big picture black letter law overview. So we start like, all right, like I want to talk about torts in 10 minutes. And then what we do is we work through a couple of essays. So we're going to work, so you're going to come to the class. You're going to come to the class with having reviewed the black letter law. So you will have done all of your attack outlines, etc., for a subject. And then once that's done, so once you've finished your review of Civ Pro, I schedule it so that then we do your Civ Pro essay workshop. And we talk about approaching essays. We talk about issue spotting. We talk about a whole bunch of different things. And then we do some essays that go over it. And we talk about, issue spotting. We talk about how to write the analysis, how to organize, like a whole bunch of different skills associated with writing essays. And I'm going to dig into some of this in early intervention, but that's what that whole workshop is for. Plus, you get access to the bank of all of the prior workshops that I've done. And it's all organized by, okay, this is an essay that tests negligence. Here's a product liability essay. Here's a joinder essay in Civ Pro. Here's equal protection. Here's free speech. So there are videos based on all of the various issues that you need to really be familiar with so you can practice. So you're not just doing a con law essay. You want to make sure that you're hitting all of the issues and you've seen how all of the issues are tested. It is, so somebody asked, they said they work full time, they can't take time off work. Is it possible to do early intervention and still be prepared for the February exam without taking time off work? Yeah, it is. You would do core, not early intervention. And if you're doing core, I'll throw early intervention in. So yeah, just let me know. And if you're doing the attorney exam, like Haroon, I know a few of you are, what we'll do is we have to pay for licensing of the MBE questions. So I just won't charge you for that. I won't charge you. I'll lower the price according to that. So if you've already done it, we'll send you a refund, but just sign up for early intervention or send me an email and we'll get it sorted out so that you don't get those questions, the MBE questions, because you don't want to do them if you don't need to. Any other questions? And then this, just as a heads up, so BarMD core, this is our flagship full bar prep, outlines, daily study schedule, essays, bar essays with answers, PTs with BarMD answers. It's our essay workshop course, our PT workshops course. We do 3 skills lectures, everything is in this. So that's full bar prep. And that's the daily study schedule. So for the person who asked, who works full time, can't take time off work, you would want to do the program. And the schedule starts tomorrow. The core program does not include my 2 textbooks. So it doesn't include the essay book or their PT book. A lot of people add those on. Yeah, I was really trying to do, really kind of keep this at its least expensive and let people add on, because some people have something that they like already for essays or PTs. And if you have any questions, if you're thinking about signing up for core, or if you have any questions at all, just definitely schedule a time to chat with me. And then here's a list of a bunch of free resources, and I will send out links for all of this stuff as well. It just won't come out till next week. We have our podcast. I also have my YouTube channel. A lot of times people ask me for the videos on YouTube. They want to know where's the answer for what I did. That's in our free workshops course. We're actually revamping that right now though. So that'll be revamped next week. Then we have, like I said, our Reddit and Facebook groups, and we have some free samples of our book. So you can see a chapter of it. So just as a heads up, any other questions? All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. If you guys need anything, you have my, Ben, did you get core? Ben, we'll go ahead and take a look. But yeah, if you guys, need anything, if you have any questions, just always feel free to reach out, make an appointment, etc. I hope you guys are all taking care of yourselves, doing well. And yeah, early intervention starts September 10th. It'll September 10th that morning. And if you signed up already, oh yeah, and I'll share the link for the books. If you go to barmd.com/shop, I will put the link here. This has the links to the books there. So if you want to check them out, and this is for digital access right now. We are working on actually getting everything printed. Hi, Starla, thanks for joining. We're working on getting digital access all sorted out, but right now it's just digital. So just be on the lookout. But you can use that until we get the digital or until we get the hard copies. And early intervention starts September 10th. And yeah, the PT book, the California PT book is out now. If you get that and you want to switch to the MPT, if you're you can't, not if you previously purchased California and then you want to take the UBE in addition, but if you're taking the UBE and you want to do some PT prep, you can start with California and then we can switch it over. So that's fine too. Thanks so much for joining, everybody. I really love doing this, and we'll send out an email too for any other future workshops. Like I'll probably do an essay one coming up. All right, thanks everybody. And the free samples, the person that asked, those aren't actually up just yet. But shoot me an email because I can email them to you. We can let you know when they're up. So just shoot me an email. Everybody, my email here, no, Deborah, that's different. It's different. You could use the quick sheets to do that, but the quick sheets are different from the attack outlines. All right, everybody, thanks again. Have a really great rest of your night. And if you need anything, just reach out. Bye, everybody.